So the first problem is alignment. Daniel Kahneman, who recently passed, wrote the wonderful book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Probably many of you have heard of it. Some of you have read it. He also read another one called Noise. So I wrote another one called Noise afterwards, which was even better. And that talked about the alignment problem and how AI, when it goes into organizations, any systematic process, forms this problem of alignment. People are not aligned in how they think decisions should be made. So when an AI comes along, everybody goes, well, that's fine, but I still have my view, and it's different. Okay. So alignment. You have to have this conversation. It's a hard conversation to say, why do you do what you do? And now you're starting to see that it's actually not an arm's length problem of here's some AI, here's some data, off you go. But it's actually a deeper conversation, a trusted conversation with a business person or somebody who owns a certain business outcome to say, why are you doing what you should do? Okay? Why and how can something like AI help you? The misconception is that if we just throw a non-customized product that's kind of imperfect, we take off the shelf, we put it in there, it will just help them in the same way that data does. It doesn't work like that because there isn't homogeneous decision making. If there was, you could just slide in a product and off we go. But we haven't straightened that out in most organizations. So the first thing has to be to straighten that. Why do we do, how we do, and how is AI that's going to come into that actually going to fit and reinforce that? Okay, rather than being another voice that disrupts the conversation, something that pushes it forward. This is a really frequent one, okay? And this goes back to the value proposition point that we made earlier. A lot of organizations define technology and AI in terms of the number of people that they'll need less of or workforce that they'll need less of. It's a very poor and back-of-the-envelope calculation, okay? Because it misses a whole bunch of things about how organizations work, how organic they are, how much interrelationship there are. It treats people as kind of individual kind of lemmings. They just do a job. And now you don't need 10, you now need 6. And for the largest organizations, for very repetitive tasks perhaps, but for many others that logic doesn't work. So this idea that I can just throw in AI and it'll automate stuff for me, so I need less people, is a very narrow view of AI. In some cases, absolutely. I wouldn't argue with it. But in many, many other cases, I think it's about improving and raising the quality of what you do. And in many organizations, that's a harder conversation to have. How can we do what we do better? How can we create a superior product, superior customer experience? We saw with the CIO, do you remember the CIO preferences? Data literacy was actually after customer experience. 6 was customer experience, 7 was data literacy. So what's interesting about that for me was like seeing that actually the underlying, how do we improve the quality of the business is really what AI promises to do for us, not just take off another medial task away from us. And where businesses fail to recognize that is that they kind of put this into the technology automation bucket and they go, well, this is just another more intelligent robotic process automation problem. And so we can just kind of we don't need to ask questions like, why do we do this? Just do it. Just do it again and again. We just reduce headcount in their team and that'll be fine. And it feeds into this idea that AI will do the jobs that we don't want to do so that we can get on with the other better kind of cool jobs that we do. Whereas, in fact, a lot of AI that we see today are exactly in that realm. They're on the right-hand side of the cognitive task. They're helping us make better products, think in more structured ways, in better ways, and in more clearly. AI systems and error rate. This is a classic, right? Generative AI makes mistakes, hallucinations. We heard them before. Any algorithm has an error rate because it's uncertain. Anytime it forecasts about uncertainty, it's going to make mistakes. It's going to have error rates, right? So this idea that you can kind of just put it in and it'll just work, and if it doesn't, we need to throw it out, okay, is just the wrong conception. And a lot of people have this kind of binary attitude to technology. I click the button, I get the outcome. If I don't get it, I'm upset. It doesn't work. Okay, oh, it's a risk. Oh, it fell over. Oh, it's terrible. It's not working. Very binary, right? With a person, yeah, they make mistakes. Oh, yeah, they didn't come in. They got sick. Oh, they took the call terribly badly. Oh, no, that was a terrible outcome. There's an error distribution rate that we are used to in business when we're dealing with people that so far we've not been used to with technology because we haven't dealt with these uncertainty systems. We dealt with absolute systems, execution systems. So that's a whole other mindset. That's almost like doing a disservice to call it a piece of technology. It's almost like it's something else. I don't even have the word for it. That allows us to have that kind of risk aversion and risk understanding. So this idea that expecting AI to be an absolute solution without any errors, an execution, an automation type solution that just does it without us looking at it, is one of the biggest misconceptions because it's not really thinking about it as a trial and error, as an improvement, as a how do we get better at whatever product or service we're doing. It's thinking about it as something that happens over there in the tech team, in the basement. I don't need to think about it. And therefore, there's a big crevice between the business people and the tech teams. And that just doesn't get solved because there's a sense by which things just get lobbed over there and there isn't a bridge that's built. AI is a business function, not a support function. I think that's a really important point. Support functions get squeezed in times when costs are tight. Support functions are seen to be operational, execution-based. They have a ceiling for the quality they can provide. There's no upside to putting more and more money into support function because as soon as you've got what you need, you actually just need minimal. They'll always get squeezed and put down. We heard this before quite a bit in terms of the experience of CIOs and others, is that if you set up your team as a support function and you have the language of it and you talk about it in that way, you basically are putting yourself into that category, whereas AI, really, if you can embed the why and embed the business logic, then AI sits much closer to the business. It's a business function. It sits with the business teams. It generates P&L. It's responsible. It has a line item in the accountancy and so on. What's important is that it's not put over there with the technology team and this idea that, we just take it off the shelves. It'll just be there. Something to say in my earnings calls or something else. And we'll say we do AI, and that'll be fine. And when everybody asks me why, I'll just point to my CIO, CTO, and go, can you just tell them about the AI stuff that we do? CTO will come out and go, oh, yeah, look, we got these 3 projects. They're great. Who are they by? Oh, there's this team, I think, somewhere overseas. They're doing some stuff. Yeah, awesome. There's no ownership there. There's no closeness to the business decision-making, and so on. So that needs to be structured differently in order to overcome that problem. If data is the utility, then AI is a competitive edge. Don't think of AI as a utility that you take off the shelf. With all due respect to wonderful products from Microsoft and others, all of your competitors have them as well. They're going to make your business operationally efficient. There's a 10, 20, maybe 30% improvement, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's significant. But they're not going to make you win because everybody has the same thing. And the question is going to be, how do you use it? Maybe that's a competitive advantage. Right? But also how you develop it, how you formulate around your business strategy, okay? So this idea that data is, I missed the word utility there, business intelligence translated into AI and improved is your competitive edge. So this idea that you can equate data management success with AI strategy success, that we can just extend the document, but what is our data strategy with a little bit more and just putting the word AI in, is missing all of these points that we just talked about. It's missing the fact that AI can be used very successfully to grow your business rather than to squeeze costs and be a kind of an operational utility. Ultimately, this is my final point, and I want to stay on this point for a little bit longer than the others. Having what I just said, what I said about AI going into the cognitive process, the responsibility and ownership of those decisions are still handled by people, individuals. We still make business deals with each other. We trade with each other. No matter how much AI is going to come into that space, I think at a core, we're going to remain a human society, which is good because we're humans. So human capital remains a main driver of value, and the idea of being aligned and prepared for the age of AI is super important. Organizations are already kind of missing the cultural element of this whole problem, which is that if you're going to put an AI agent into your organization, any kind of automation, you need your people to feel comfortable with a narrative that says about them. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my job? What does it mean for my future? What does it mean for the importance of me, right? I've got this AI agent. It actually is really clever. It writes really good reports. It communicates with clients really well. Where's my value proposition, right? The amount of conversations I've had over the last year and a half from CEOs to Uber drivers that start with AI is unethical. I'm worried about the regulation. I'm worried about equality. And you dig into that conversation and you realize that all of these are very thin veneers under which lies one fundamental truth. What about me? What about my future? Is my future going to be a happy one? And if it's not, I'm not going to support your AI strategy. I'm not going to sit at my desk and train your AI and work with your AI because I think there's an adversarial position now that we've created.